Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our 8th annual Veterans Day Assembly. It's hard to think that we've been doing this for 8 years, and we are very proud to do it. Welcome, everyone. So we are pleased to host this gathering of our local servicemen and women. Today, we celebrate your commitment to servicing our military needs of the United States of America. It is a great honor for our school community to be in the midst of these distinguished veterans. Thank you for your duty, your sacrifice, and your patriotism. 8th grade students, thank you for helping your teachers and counselors in planning this celebration. We had our 8th grade history teachers, our 8th grade English teachers, our counselors working together as a team to make this all possible under the coordination of Mrs. Julie Barless. Thank you, Mrs. Barless. At this time, I would like to introduce Mrs. Sandy Hunwick Schafke, who recently got married actually on Saturday. Congratulations. She's a dear friend, and she worked at Fort Gratiot for many years. She is the founder of this assembly, a grand lady, and has been an awesome teacher. She retired a couple years ago, but is dedicated to her legacy, which is this assembly. Let's welcome Sandy.
Well, let's see if we can aim this up a little bit. There we go. Thank you, students, and thank you, Ms. Fox and our 8th grade band. Let's give them another hand. You're awesome. And thank you, everyone, for coming this morning to honor our country's veterans. And yes, I did get married Saturday, but the agreement was that the honeymoon would wait till after the Veterans Assembly, because I had committed to this first. This is a very special day set aside to honor our men and women who have served in the United States military. And now I'd like to ask Candelaria and Kaylee, both of their parents are veterans, if they would come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And thank you, girls, for signing that. Jordan? Thank you, Jordan, for playing taps in honor of our fallen soldiers. Taps was written during the Civil War as a call to extinguish lights. When the soldiers would hear that, they'd put the lights out. Now it is a tribute to those who have died. Originally, this day was called Armistice Day to honor the end of World War I on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. In 1954, it was renamed Veterans Day to honor all veterans of all eras. And students, I'm sure that you've seen people taking donations in front of stores and giving out those little red flowers that are called poppies. In 1950, there was a very bloody battle in a field in Flanders, Belgium. A young Canadian surgeon who was a colonel had spent 17 days treating injured men. His own close friend died in that battle. To vent his anguish, he sat and wrote a poem. He could see the wild poppies filling the field in a nearby cemetery and blowing in the breeze. Some of the lines of that short poem are these: "We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, loved and were loved, and now we lie. To you we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high." Since 1922, people just like the one you occasionally see in the buttonhole of someone's coat or shirt have been made by disabled and needy veterans. I challenge you each time you see one of these poppies, and you will see them for the rest of your lives, to remember and to hold high the torch. And now I'd like to introduce our Blue Star Mother of America from chapter number 180, Vicki Rowe.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Rowe. I am past president of Blue Water Chapter 180, and I would like to thank our veterans for their service. I'm not sure if anybody really knows about this organization, but I will share a little information about us. Blue Water Chapter 180 takes great pride in the history of Blue Star Mothers of America. On January 23, 1942, the Flint News Advertiser published an article and coupon asking mothers of servicemen to complete and return the coupon. On February 2nd, 300 mothers met at the Durand Hotel in Flint, Michigan. It was decided after receiving 1,000 responses from that ad, they formed a permanent organization. Chapters quickly formed in Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, New York, Pennsylvania, Oregon, California, and the states just go on. In June of 1960, the organization was chartered by Congress. Mothers volunteered throughout the times of World War II, working in hospitals, train stations, packing care packages for our soldiers, and were working part of Homeland Security during times of war. Growth of Blue Star Mothers was amazing through World War II and the Korean War, but with anti-war sentiments of Vietnam and then times of peace, the numbers of membership depleted. Blue Star Mothers almost became a forgotten legacy. Around the country, proud moms like us are striving to revive the tradition, patriotism, and pride of so many moms before us. We are determined to continue their historic tradition in support of all brave sons and daughters of the United States military. Blue Star Mothers of America is a nonprofit organization that services that our service organization dedicated to promote patriotism and support and inform military families. We are mothers of children who are currently serving or have served and have been discharged from the U.S. Army. I'm not sure if you're familiar when you had someone in service that there was a banner that was flown inside the window of a home or a door entrance, and that banner had a blue star on it. When there is a fallen soldier, we moms will go and attend the funeral of their child, and at that time we will present to them from exchange of the Blue Star banner to a Gold Star, and they become Gold Star moms. A mom from our chapter had went to Lansing to promote a license plate for Gold Star moms, and that was presented to the state of Michigan 2 years ago. And there, if you notice on certain license plates, there is Gold Star license plates that are out there from our moms. I believe that's all I needed to say about us. How many are familiar with us? Well, we have a great honor in taking care of our veterans, our servicemen and women that are overseas. We help out at the Dom. We send things over to Launch Stool. Our organization just goes on, and we are just honored and thrilled that we can take this opportunity to be able to help our servicemen and women. This year, our hearts are going towards our veterans because a lot of our servicemen and women are here and back home. I have 3 children that served, and my daughter just got back from Afghanistan 2 months ago. So I am honored to stand here before you and represent our military.
I think we have some kids that would like to say something. Go ahead.
The students here at Fort Gratiot Middle School have been collecting supplies for soldiers and supplies for veterans since September. At this time, on behalf of the National Junior Honor Society here at Fort Gratiot Middle School, we would like to present you with these supplies for you to distribute where you feel they will best serve for our soldiers and veterans.
Thank you so much. Both Mrs. Rowe and also all of the kids that have brought in all these boxes filled with things for our veterans and our servicemen. Thank you so very much. Okay. All right, now we're going to hear from our band. Today's all about seeing and meeting and honoring some of our community's veterans. Sit back and enjoy the Armed Forces Salute, performed by our 8th grade band and directed by our Miss Kate Fox. Thank you, band. That was wonderful. And at this time, I'm going to introduce our honored guests. And if I miss anyone, I'll ask at the end. So we've got a bunch of people here today. Okay, first we have, and if you'd stand when I call your name, and kids, if you'll wait till we get all the way to the end, because you can see we have well over 100 veterans here today. So I'm going to call their name and what branch of the service they served in. And if I know the time that they served, I'll tell you that, okay? All right, Mr. Fred Adolph. Where's Mr. Adolph? And Mr. Adolph served in the Navy during World War II on a submarine, the USS Argonaut II. Thank you so much, Mr. Adolph. Malcolm Ayers. Mr. Ayers served in the Navy Air Branch during the 50s. Thank you so much for your service. Donald Bailey served in the Army for 3 years, was promoted to sergeant in 1968, and served in Vietnam during 67, 68. Thank you. Mr. Charles Barker, who served with the Army. Mr. Barker? There he is. He was a commander of the Fort Gratiot American Legion, Post 408, and Operation Enduring Freedom, 2006. No, I have the wrong one? Wrong one. Okay. Whoever that belongs to, when I get to you, you let me know. Kenneth Barker, who served in the Navy as a radio man. Thank you, Mr. Barker, again. Dave Belair, who served in the Air Force in 1968 to 1972 and was in Vietnam. Thank you very much. Al Bloom, who served in the Army. Mr. Bloom, thank you for your service. Art Collins, Mr. Collins, and I read your story. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Mr. Collins served in the Army during the Korean War. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Jim Collins, who served in the Army during Vietnam. Jim Collins, there he is. Thank you. And another, James Collins, who served in the Army during World War II. Thank you so much. And he received a Bronze Star. Okay, Mr. James Collins in World War II, he got a Bronze Star. John Dell, who served in the Army Engineers during World War II. Mr. Dell, right in the front, thank you so much. Robert Dell, who served in the Navy during the Korean War on the destroyer escort detail. Thank you, Mr. Dell. Otto Dinez, am I saying it right, Mr.? Is it? Okay, Mr. Dinez, who served in the Army and in the Navy from 1942 to 1948. He also served in the Merchant Marines for 6 years. He was drafted into the Army and re-enlisted in the Navy. He's a patriot. Thank you so much. And our Dickinson brothers, and there were actually 7 in the family who all served in the military, and we have a couple of them with us today. Jim Dickinson, who served in the Army during the Korean War. Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. And Leroy Dickinson, who served in the Army during World War II, from 43 to 45 at Omaha Beach. And those of you who haven't studied that yet, you'll appreciate that even more when you learn about that in high school. And there's another Dickinson here, because I know, maybe your name's down further on the list, but I know there's another Don. Yep. And Mr. Dickinson, go ahead and stand up. This is Don Dickinson, and you, Army? Army, thank you so much. That's another one of the brothers, and he's probably down further on the list. Ralph Farley, who served in the Army for 2 years in Vietnam. He got a Bronze Star and an Eagle Slate Award. Thank you so much. Right here in the front row. And Wayne Fleury, who served in the Navy. Where's Wayne? Wayne Fleury as in Goodles, Wayne Fleury? Did you live out in Goodles and went to Kimball School and Ruth and Bacon? Sandy Horning. Hi. We went to school from kindergarten through 12th grade, I guess. 6 years, Vietnam era. Thank you, Wayne. Trevor Gianaris, did I say that right? Army, 3 years. Somebody got a name, first name Trevor? I probably mangled your last name. No? Okay. Charles Gibson, who served in the Navy. Thank you so much, Mr. Gibson. Ronald Graham, who served in the Army from 1966 to 72 during Vietnam. Thank you. Victor Granick, who served in the Navy for 3 years. He's an honor guard on commissioning crew for the USS San Diego. He also served on the USS Amphibian. William Granick, who served in the Air Force, 4 years active. Thank you, Mr. Granick. Oh, wow. He served in Vietnam, Taiwan, Guam, Japan, Philippines, Germany, Denmark, Thailand, England, Italy, and Laos. If you'd like to travel, gentlemen and ladies. Mr. Vic Gronick, the second, who served in the Air Force. Thank you. 4 years active. He received the Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Service Medal, and Commendation Medal. He's on the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty Team. Thank you so much for your service. Richard Harp, who served in the Army. It's Mr. Harp. Thank you, Mr. Harp. Lester Harris, who served in the Army for 4 years in Germany. Where's Mr. Harris? Right here in the front. Thank you. And Larry Harris, who served in the Army for 10 years. Larry Harris? Okay. Ronald Hayes, who served in the Navy, 4 years as a second-class electrician's mate, E5. Thank you so much. Warren Hicks, who served in the Navy in World War II in the Pacific. Thank you so much, Mr. Hicks. Gary Hilger, who served in the Army from 66 to 68. Where's Mr. Hilger? No, okay. Randy Hilger, who served in the Army during Vietnam. Thank you, Mr. Hilger. Terry Hilger, who served in the Army in Vietnam, during Vietnam. So are you folks brothers also? And there's another brother who's just not here. We're all three of you brothers. Thank you so much for your service. Armand Hillock, who served in the Army from 1943 to 46. Thank you, Mr. Hillock. And I think I'm correct in saying that the Dickinsons and Mr. Hillock have been here since the very first one that we had. I seem to remember those names. Okay, Roger Hoininghauser. Thank you. He's in the Army. Thank you. Thank you so much. Arnold Hulverson in the Air Force from 56 to 84. He got 2 Air Force Commendation Medals, Presidential Unit Citation for work with the SR-71 and the U-2 from 1967 to 1970. And U-2, those were for the 67 to 70, then in Vietnam in 67. Thank you so much. I want to say our own Mr. Eric Isaacson. We had his kids here at school. Mr. Isaacson, who served with the Navy, he's retired now. And just recently, he was the commander at Selfridge Air National Guard Base. Thank you so much. David Johnson with the United States Marine Corps. David Johnson. Mark Kerrigan with the Navy for 8 years. Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Eastern Exit, Kosovo, Navy Achievement Medal, served on the USS Guam and the USS Eisenhower. Thank you so much. Matthew Lewandowski, Air Force, 4 years. Airman of the Month, served with Strategic Air Command, 802nd Combat Support Group. Thank you so much. Jim Lynch with the United States Army during the Korean War. Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Our own Mr. McLaughlin, who served with the United States Marine Corps and is currently a teacher here at Fort Gratiot. Thanks, Will. Mr. Gary Miller, who served with the Army during Vietnam. Gary Miller. Okay. Am I seeing him? Did I miss him? Is he out there? Where's Mr. Miller? No? Okay. Dave Robinson. Where's Mr. Robinson? What branch did you serve with, Mr. Robinson? Marine Corps and the Navy. Thank you so much. And another Marine Corps vet, Kenneth Robinson, who served 7 years, got the Purple Heart, served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Cuba. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. James Rumley, who served in the Navy during the Korean War. Thank you, Mr. Rumley. Dale Sutton. Where's Mr. Sutton? What branch did you serve with, Mr. Sutton? Pardon?
Navy Air.
Naval Air. Okay, thank you so much. Donald Tuthill, who served in the Army during the 40s in World War II, won the Purple Heart and served in the South Pacific. Thank you so much. Larry Tyson, who served both with the Marines and the Army, 9 years and during the Vietnam era. Thank you so much. Mr. Harold Waite, who served with the Air Force during World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. Are you retired then from? Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Wow, I hope I get to retire or enjoy retirement for 47 years. Okay, and I was
Not really retired, though.
Scott Butler. Where's Mr. Butler? Mr. Butler, and tell me what branch? Pardon? Marine Corps. Thank you so much. And this gentleman is actually the Veteran of the Year this year, Wayne Weaver with the United States Marine Corps, who served 67 through 69 in Vietnam. Thank you. Michael Weir, who served with the Air Force for 25 years. Thank you, sir. He won. Oh, wow. 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 You're a congressional medal? No, okay. He won the Air Medal, Operation Desert Shield, Storm, Calm Operation, Endeavoring Freedom, New Dawn, and Noble Eagle. Thank you so much. Mr. Jim Wilson, who served with the United States Army. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. He was also a Vietnam vet. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have favorites, but I have favorites. This is Mr. Wilton, George Wilton, who I've known forever. Mr. George Wilton, who served in World War II in the Army. He was a member of CBI and the China-Burma Theater. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And I love you. Mr. Gary Wiswell, who served with the Army in 1965 to 68. Thank you so much. Mr. David Muehlman. What branch did you serve with? Army. Thank you so much for your service. Ramon Almendarez. And what branch? Marine Corps. You have to be able to say it, right? Thank you.
65 in 1987, Vietnam 2 times, 66, 67, and 69.
Thank you so much. Now, our kids got a little overwhelmed out there because everybody kind of came in at once. So I have a first name, but not a last name. So Warren, where's Warren? No? Okay. And kids who are writing, are the ones that are on these last two sheets, are those people here? Yes? Okay. So I don't have your branch. So when I call your name, if you would tell me the branch you served in. Ron Mikulski? United States Army. Thank you so much. I like this one. This is Scooter. Where's Scooter? Okay, and what did you serve in?
Support.
Pardon?
Support.
You support.
My dad served in the United States Army.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dale Taylor. It's Mr. Taylor. In what branch? Air Force, United States Air Force. Thank you so much. Ralph Fraley. It's Mr. Fraley. Right in the front. What branch, Mr. Fraley? Army. Thank you. Mr. Bob Seifert. In what branch, Mr. Seifert? Marine Corps. Thank you. And Mr. Scandalito, you're going to tell us what branch, aren't you? He's going to speak in a little bit. United States Army. Thank you. John Beebe. Where's Mr. Beebe? What branch? Thank you so much. I don't know if you heard that, but he said Operation Iraqi Freedom, Air Force. Daryl Williamson. It's Mr. Williams. Army, thank you so much. And a lot of you kids probably know this next gentleman because he subbed here for us. Mr. Chuck Teller. Where's Chuck? And you served in the Navy, right? Navy, Vietnam. Cecil Harrison. Where's Mr. Harrison? Merchant Marine. Thank you so much. Mr. Tim White. Mr. Tim White. What branch? Navy and Coast Guard. Thank you. Mr. Chris Rawes. Maybe I'm not saying it right. R-A-W-E-S. No? Okay. Paul Reichener. What? U.S. Army. Thank you. Andy Dupuy. Andy Dupuy.
Navy Air Force.
Navy and Air Force. Okay. Tom Oles, or Olas. What branch? Marine Corps. Thank you. And our counselor's father, Mr. Ralph Fernandez. Where's Mr. Fernandez? Right here. Hey. Thank you. Kids, that's Mrs. Nesbitt's dad. And what branch were you in, Mr. Fernandez? Army. Thank you so much. Dwin Delore. Dwin Delore. And what branch?
I'm a supporter. I'm a son.
Okay, thank you so much. David Hastings. U.S. Army, Vietnam. Thank you. Doug Nelson. Doug Nelson.
U.S. Army, Vietnam.
Thank you. And Judith Mino. Where's Mrs. Mino? What branch? Army. Thank you so much. And Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson, what branch? U.S. Army. Thank you. Now, I always miss somebody, so who did I miss? Raise your hand if I missed you. Tell me your name and your branch.
Navy,
Thank you.
Ray Everett, Navy, occupation of Japan, South
World War II. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Vietnam, and also a retired school district employee.
Thank you so much. I think there's somebody over here. Yep.
Jim Armstrong, served 40 years in the Air Force during Vietnam, was a crew chief on fighter jets.
Thank you so much. Now, did I get, now, there we go.
My college, U.S. Army, Vietnam.
Thank you so much.
Army.
Thank you. I said your name wrong. That's, yep, I had one on here, but I said it wrong. Thank you so much. Now did we get everybody? Students, let's stand and give them a standing ovation. Whoops, I got one more. Ooh. And we do have one more. Thank you so much for your service. I'm just, every year I'm amazed at the fact that you took the time to come so we could honor you and your service. I'm so thankful for all of those things. And now we have some students who are going to read some essays that they wrote. Come on up, kids, it's okay. We're gonna have the essay, the first one is by Ashley. Is it Blaze? And it's going to be read by Riley Knott. So where's Riley? There you go.
To all military personnel, I would like to say thank you for everything you're doing for our country and all the sacrifices you have made. I cannot even imagine what's like to leave your family and friends, missing the birth of a baby, the first time they walk, cry, or even the first word, missing the death of a loved one, or just being there to hold your mother's hand while she gets bad news. The courage you have to wake up every morning knowing that you have to do your job, regardless of what it is and what is going on at home, amazes me. And I can never thank you enough for all that you have gave and continue to give us. Seeing the difficult and repeated training that you guys go through gives me the highest respect for you. The training was meant to prepare you for the sights and actions of war and give you the knowledge and ability to stay focused and to do what is required for you in extreme situations. Personally, I do not believe I would be able to handle the responsibilities that are placed upon your shoulders. I would not be prepared to watch others around me as well as myself get injured or even the possibility of death. To close this letter, I would like to thank all the military men and women, past and future, of all branches who protect and serve this great country. I can never enough thank you for the determination, sacrifices, and the knowledge I am to sleep soundly and wake up without worries about the safety of myself, my family, and my friends. If there was a way from home to help, you bet I would be first in line. Hopefully this letter shows how much we truly appreciate your service. Thank you, Ashley Blaze.
Whitney Cook.
When I pledge my allegiance to the flag, it makes me think of the freedom I have, the rights I'm given, and the soldiers that fight for America and every individual in it.
When I stand at school every morning while saying the Pledge of Allegiance, I feel as if I'm not only promising to stay loyal to my country and its people, but I'm thanking America and everybody that helped found and fight for America. Every morning at school, we have an opportunity to pledge our allegiance to the flag. I always take advantage of that. Being allowed that opportunity each day makes me feel as if I'm honoring all the soldiers and everything they did for my country. Pledging my allegiance to the flag makes me think about how staying loyal to my country is so important, especially after all the things the soldiers have done for billions of people, including me. Being loyal to my country and its people is the least I could do after I have gotten all my rights and freedom. People risked their lives for America. Some lost their lives. They deserve to be honored, and their work also deserves to be respected and appreciated. When I pledge my allegiance to the flag, I also think about the soldiers fighting in the wars for America, their families waiting at home to hear if their loved ones are even alive anymore. It's so heartwarming that there are so many people who would risk everything for our country, yet so sad that many die or get seriously injured. When I pledge my allegiance to the flag, I think of the freedom and rights I'm given. I also think about the soldiers that fight for America and every individual in it. Pledging my allegiance to the flag is a very important thing to do in order to show loyalty to my country and thank America and everybody who helped fight for America. Whenever I get the opportunity to pledge my allegiance to the flag, I take advantage of it. It shows my country I'm thankful and loyal. Even though I'm only one person, if everybody pledged their allegiance to the flag, America would be an even better place. What does pledging allegiance to the flag mean to you? What do you think about it? What do you think about when you pledge your allegiance to the flag?
Thank you, Whitney. And now Sarah Tidwell is going to read Abby McClellan's essay.
It takes an extraordinary individual to lay down their life for another. To sacrifice yourself in the name of freedom for your fellow citizens, your country, and your family is truly one of the most praiseworthy acts I can think of. It's because of your sacrifices, your dedication, and your courage that I am here today, writing this as a free citizen of the United States of America. The freedom that my family and I experienced came at the expense of many lives lost and families broken. Many soldiers never came home after deploying overseas to fight and never got to say goodbye to their loved ones. I can't imagine the horrific experiences and events you witnessed, and for that, I honor you and will never forget you. Not only am I a proud American citizen and respect the incredible sacrifices of my American soldiers, I am also very thankful to my American allies, specifically Canada. Due to my Canadian heritage, I have a true admiration for Canadian soldiers who also lost their lives. I proudly wear a poppy to show a small sign of respect every November. A special poem by a famous Canadian soldier truly highlights the bravery of many young soldiers. It highlights a time in our history that we must never forget. This is In Flanders Field by John McCrae. In Flanders Field, the poppies grow, between the crosses row on row. That marks our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw the sunset glow. Loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep through poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Abby and Sarah. Jenna Perrick.
I would like to say thank you to every man and woman serving for our country overseas. It takes outstanding citizenship, stamina, and willpower to do what they do and what they have done for our country. As a young child growing up, I did not understand the meaning of war. I thought it was just a bunch of men who got in an argument and started fighting about it. Now that I am older, I have a clear understanding about wars and the aftermath it leaves, not just in where it took place, but it leaves an emotional scar on the people that were a part of it. People take so many things for granted. For example, seeing your loved ones every day, getting a hug when you come home, or family movie and game nights. These brave men and women do not get to do those things for months, sometimes years. They sacrifice all that to protect our country. We do not completely understand what these brave men and women do, but that doesn't mean we cannot thank them. So I, Jenna Perrick, thank every man and woman involved with our U.S. Army, Air Force, Marines, and Navy.
Thank you, Jenna. And now our last one, Ashley Taylor.
Thank you. Those two sweet, simple words do not show nearly how much gratitude that we, the people of America, have for you and your families. You risk your life out on an assortment of different battlefields. You leave behind things most people in our nation take for granted. You leave your friends, your family, and in many cases your country. You leave months at a time servicing our country boldly and courageously. You aid the patriotic spirit that America has had since the very beginning. When these soldiers, our mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, friends, and many of our loved ones return, we stand up and thank them for the time they have served to protect us. This does not only include when they are out there on the battlefield fighting for us, but every time a mother tucks her child in the bed, or a friendly hug goodbye from her brother. These are our veterans who do more than what we associate their duty with, in the skies, overseas, and on enemy terrains. These are the people who are our heroes. They are the ones who won our hearts, along with the perilous battles. We should never forget that this is America, land of the free and home of the brave. This is why we can never thank you enough or pray for those who we have lost. This is why we salute you, veterans. You go above and beyond your call of duty. These amazing people are the reason we are able to call our country the home of the brave. Thank you, veterans. We will always admire you for going above and beyond.
Thank you, Ashley. And now Mr. Denny Dwyer, who is one of our 8th grade teachers, is going to be singing I Pledge My Allegiance, accompanied by some 8th grade students and our Fort Gratiot Guitar Club. Thank you so much, Denny and students. And now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Colonel Charlie Scandalito, who's retired from the United States Army with 30 years of service. Welcome, Mr. Scandalito.
Wow, this is awesome, overwhelming. Thank you, Principal Ladensack, Fort Gratiot Middle School teaching staff, veterans, and especially you, Fort Gratiot Middle School 8th grade class. I hope I said that right. November 11th, Veterans Day. Your day. You heard the story of how at the end of the war, First World War, November 11th was called Armistice Day. It later got changed to Veterans Day so that the United States could honor all of its veterans from all of its wars. So what does Veterans Day mean to us veterans? Well, I lost the mic. Oh, there we go. Well, we can put on our hat and we can go to the Golden Corral and get a free lunch. No, it means a lot more than that to us. It means something special to each and every one of us. Let me tell you a little story about a 16-year-old kid that dropped out of school in the 10th grade. Oh, he didn't need any more education. He knew more than the teachers, so he quit school. You're going to go get a job, buy a car, have a lot of fun. Didn't take long before he realized he couldn't get a job. Every place he went to get a job, they asked for his high school diploma. Didn't have one. So there he is out in the world by himself. All of his friends are still in school, nothing to do, so he starts hanging around the pool room, shooting pool with a bunch of old guys like me. Well, for a 16-year-old kid, hanging around a bunch of old guys isn't a lot of fun. He quickly realized he made a mistake. So after the summer break, he went back to school. Oh, he didn't go to get an education. No. He just went back to have fun. And that he did. And he got through all that. And he got his graduate, and he got his diploma, and he says, now I can go out and get that job. And so he did. Didn't take long before he realized that he wasn't making as much money as he would like to have made. So he said to his friend, he said, I got to get another job, or I have got to get a part-time job. So his friend says, hey, look, let's do this. He says, let's go join the local National Guard. They pay you for every time you attend a meeting. Oh, that's cool. That's like a part-time job. So they did. They went and joined the local National Guard. Time goes on, and he notices his friends and some of the other fellows that joined after him, they were getting promoted and he wasn't. And with each promotion comes a pay raise. That's what he was in there for. So he goes to his old first sergeant and he says, First Sergeant, why is all these other guys getting promoted and I'm not? And first sergeant says, well, son, You've got to take some Army classes to get promoted. You just don't get promoted because you've been here a long time. Oh, more education. He says, well, look at First Sergeant, I got this high school diploma. And the First Sergeant says, yeah, that got you in the front door. But now if you want to get promoted and make more money, you've got to take some classes. Oh, okay. So he took some classes. Sure enough, he gets promoted. Oh, this is cool. Gets a pay raise. Takes some more classes. Gets promoted again and again. Pretty soon he's at the top of the list, top of the grade, as high as he can go as a sergeant. Says, now what I do? Talking to his friend says, hey, look, let's do this. Let's go to Fort Benning, Georgia, to Officer Candidate School, and if we graduate from there, we'll get a commission as an Army officer. And then there's no limit. Oh, yeah, that's cool. More education. Wow. So they go to Fort Benning, Georgia. Sure enough, they get through all that, graduate, and they get commissioned second lieutenant. After a little while, the Army informs him that, well, to be a first lieutenant, you got to take more classes. Wow, there doesn't seem to be any end to this education thing. So he goes to Fort Benning again, and he goes to the officer's basic course, and sure enough, in it, and nice pay raise. He notes that his lieutenant's pay, daily pay, is more than his civilian job. So he says, hey, why don't I just join the Army and make a career of it? So he does. Join. And the Army says, well, Lieutenant, first thing we're going to do, we're going to send you back to Fort Benning to the Officer's Advanced Course. Oh, wow, more education. So he gets through all that, gets assigned to an Army post somewhere, and he gets orders to go to Vietnam. Oh, heavy duty. Wow. Gets over there, is promoted to captain, is given a field command with an infantry company. Quickly realizes that those people are serious over there, trying to kill him. Well, he gets through all that, he comes home, and it was kind of tough on his family. So he decides, maybe this isn't the life for me. So he gets back out of the Army, goes and tries to find a job. Right away, gets a job, civilian job, gets promoted to foreman, leader, pretty good pay. Wow, that was easy. Time goes on. He also rejoins the Michigan National Guard, and the Guard says, if you want to stay in the Guard, Captain, you're going to go to school and you're going to get some more education to get qualified for the next 2 higher ranks. Oh my. This time it requires him to go to Fort Leavenworth to command the General Staff College. Wow. So he gets through all that. Working on his civilian job again, belonging to the National Guard. Not caring an awful lot for this job because it isn't quite what he wants. So he looks in the newspaper and he sees two ads for 2 jobs. He applies for both of them. One was with the Port Huron Area School District, which you belong to. The other one was with the Yale School District. He chooses the Yale School District. I don't know why, he just did. Nice up there. At the same time, he rejoins the National Guard. I might have already said that. He gets a call from East China School District. Who wants you to come to work for us? Hey, what the heck's happening here? I'm getting job offers all over the place, he says. One day, his secretary says, there's a phone call for you from the president of the Sea Ray Boat Company. Wow, what does Mr. President want? He wants to sell me a boat? Hello, Mr. President, what can I do for you? The president says, we want you to come down and talk to me about managing one of my boat manufacturing plants. Whoa, back up the train here. I don't know anything about building boats. Mr. President says, doesn't matter, I can teach anybody to build a boat in a week. I need somebody like you. You're a captain on active duty. You're a major in the Guard. I need somebody that has your experience in managing people. Wow, the light pops on. I got a trade, he says. Yes, he had a trade in leadership, management. A little while later, St. Clair County Community College gets in touch with him. I want you to come to work for us. We'll double your wages. Wow, cool. I'll do that, he says. Meantime, he's promoted to colonel, and he becomes the chief of staff to the adjutant general of the Michigan National Guard. By now, I'm probably guessed that I am that 16-year-old kid that quit school in the 10th grade. Education, that's the key. We veterans have had our turn. We now pass the torch to you, and we charge you with the responsibility of getting that education and becoming the president, the CEOs, the politicians, the President of the United States. That's what makes this country great. It's your turn now. Sergeant Major, if you would, please.
Veterans, I care who? I care who?
We salute you, Fort Gratiot Middle School 8th grade class. Thank you, sir. Before I give up the microphone here, I want to introduce somebody. I want to introduce my wife, June. We've been together 57 years. She has put up with a lot. There's no job harder than the wife of a military personnel. I'm gone a year at a time, months at a time, and you guys know the drill. She raised our 2 sons. She seen to it that they both got the education they needed to go out in the world. Our oldest son, Scott, is a veteran of the first, combat veteran of the first Iraqi war. He joined the Army and he got his education like I did, but he got it in the medical field. And he has been a manager of 2 or 3 hospitals around the state. His wife also, with her education, runs 2 businesses that employs about 75 people. Our youngest son got his education with college, is a president and CEO of a local bank. And his wife is a school teacher at St. Mary's Catholic School. Education, that's what it's all about. Thank you. You've been a great audience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scandalito. And now, students, I believe that some of you are going to pass out a gift to our veterans. This is, we don't put Fort Gratiot's name on too many cards. Our kids who earn them through being an honor roll have a Fort Gratiot sticker, but this one's been specially designed for our veterans, and we hope that you are able to display it proudly. And I think it says, Ms. Barless, what does it say? It says, this U.S. veteran was honored by Fort Gratiot Middle School students. Thank you very much. As students, you've spent these first 2 months of school studying the founding of our country, the Revolutionary War, the Constitution, etc., and making current connections with the sacrifices of those early patriots. That's an important part of social studies class. And today puts that more real to you. You can make the connection that just like those patriots you read about, Patrick Henry and Benjamin Franklin and George Washington and all those, these are our patriots that are still alive today and with us. Okay? And wanted to share a few closing remarks here. I wanted to thank Mrs. Barless for continuing on with the Veterans Assembly. And I am retired now, and I was so honored to be asked to come back and be a part of it. And over the 7 or 8 years, I guess it's been 8 years since I first went to Mrs. Ladensack and asked permission to do this 8th grade assembly to honor our community veterans, many people have asked me, why do you care so much about the veterans? What's the big deal? They're patriotic and stuff too, but why do you do all this? Yes, my uncles, 3 of my brothers, all served in the military. Yes, I'm very patriotic. Yes, I was an American history teacher, which kind of speaks for itself, and I recognize the significance of military service. But for me, it's always been much more than that, and I'm going to try and do this without crying, which I never seem to get through one of these assemblies without that. Believe it or not, students, I was once exactly your age. It's just amazing, isn't it? And this age is going to come way faster than you think it is. But look around you. Look at those kids sitting next to you. See the kids that you've known forever. You rode the bus with them, laughed with them, ate lunch with them, went on field trips with them, played sports with them, probably even flirted with some of them. Well, yeah, see, you're remembering, okay? Well, I'm not so old that I don't remember that. When I graduated from high school, it was 1968. The worst part of the Vietnam War. It was never good, but it was at the height of it in 1968. And the boys, and yes, they really were boys, and I know you guys that went in Vietnam, many of you still were boys, right fresh out of high school. They knew they were going to be drafted and serve in the military, and in all probability, go to Vietnam. Many of my friends went. Some didn't come home. Some came home physically scarred, and some came home forever emotionally scarred. The boy who sat next to me in 10th grade biology class, Doug Deacon, came home without his legs. And the damage was so great that he could never be fitted for artificial legs. And although he lived the rest of his life, he's gone now, in a wheelchair, he never gave up, and never once did he regret his service to his country. Boys in my youth group at church, Bill Perry, John Blackmer, both went to Vietnam. Bill was the best looking guy and the nicest guy you could imagine. And Bill never came home. Had I been born a male, because only boys were drafted, I would probably have gone, and no one can know what my fate would have been. So it's for all those boys, and yes, now there are women that are serving, who went and served in every era that I do what I do. And I salute you, veterans. And I've been asked to share this. This is our final thing. I've been asked to share this story because our 8th graders have never heard it before. In September of 2005, a social studies school teacher, Martha Cothran from Arkansas, did something not to be forgotten. On the first day of school, with permission from the school superintendent, the principal, and the building supervisor, she took all the desks out of her room. Okay? So imagine going to Mr. Fiedler's room, Miss Massara's room, Mr. Dwyer's room, and there's no desks in there. Okay? The kids came into first period, and they walked in, and there was no desks. They obviously looked around and said, where's our desks? The teacher said, you can't have a desk till you tell me how you earned them. They thought, well, maybe it's our grades. Nope, she said. Our behavior? And she told them, no, not even your behavior. So they came and went. First period, still no desks in the classroom. Second period, same thing. Third period. By early afternoon, television news crews had gathered in the class to find out about this crazy teacher who had taken all the desks out of the classroom. The last period of the day, the instructor gathered her class. They were at this time sitting on the floor around the sides of the room. She said, throughout the day, no one has really understood how you earn the desks that sit in this classroom ordinarily. Now I'm going to tell you. She went over to the door and opened it, and as she did, 27 United States veterans, wearing their uniforms, walked into the classroom, each one carrying a school desk. And they placed those school desks in rows, and then they stood along the wall. By the time they had finished placing the desks, the kids, for the first time perhaps in their lives, understood how they earned those desks. The teacher said, you don't have to earn those desks. These guys did it for you. They put them out there for you, but it's up to you to sit here responsibly, to learn, to be good students and good citizens, because they paid a price for you to have that desk. And don't you ever forget it. Thank you. And our band is going to play for us as we, the students exit, and veterans, we'd like to invite you to the Media Center for refreshments. And then all of you know that the Golden Corral and there's a couple other restaurants that are honoring our veterans today. So all you need to do is show them some military something, and you'll have a free meal. But please join us for refreshments. And the band is going to play God Bless America.